Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Real Deal. Today I'm going to talk to you about something it's been around a long time, but it's making major waves in the news, and that is vaccines. And the government has just decreased the amount of vaccines that a child is recommended from 17 to 11. So, and you hear all kinds of stuff. And, of course, most people get their news and their media from social media or, mainstream agendas, or they'll hear it from their neighbor. So if your neighbor says it, it's got to be true. Or somebody might have a website, and you know what? They just don't give those to anybody for $10 a month. I mean, you got to be skilled in that. Millions. You got to be a millionaire. You know what I'm saying, people? So you want some information. You want some truth. Do a little real research, people. Don't go on Fakepedia. Dig deep. You will find the answers you're looking for. Now, according to the CDC, the recommended vaccines for all children, I'm just going to name a few of them because some of them I can't pronounce, but the MMR, which is the measles, mumps, rubella, that is very important. Tetanus, diphtheria, there's a flu I can't pronounce. It's a type B. It starts with an H. It's HIB. You got HPV, chicken pox. Those are good things. And then when I was growing up, you would have people who have a chicken pox party. You got chicken pox, well, you might as well go get it over here because you'll never get it again. I had chicken pox because we didn't have the benefit of getting all those vaccines back then like you do now. A lot of those vaccines are newer, and some of them weren't readily available to us like they are now. You can go anywhere, just walk in, well, not off the street, but you could go to any hospital, any medical facility. They'll have those for you for the most part. It wasn't like that back in the day for us. And granted, it's not like that for a lot of people now because many people don't want to get the vaccine. Many people say that they're killing the children. The reason kids die at a young age is because of the vaccines. The reason they have this or the reason they caught that. And that's all I ever hear. But stop and think about it. There could be major medical problems they didn't know about in your child when they're born. You don't know. Sadly, people do die, but it's not because of the vaccines, people. Here's another thing, and I'm going to touch on this a little more later on. Autism. All I ever hear about is that they cause autism. It's just like last year when they talked about Tylenol. Tylenol caused autism. Well, then I guess I'm autistic because I've taken Tylenol my whole life. I mean, I don't know, man. That was a sham. We're going to go there in a little bit, but first I'm going to touch on all the vaccines. And I'm going to tell you this. Autism is a hereditary disease. It's been proven, and the vaccines don't cause it. The only reason people think they do is because it's not detectable until the age when your child is starting to get some of these major vaccines. So let's talk about the history of vaccines. Let's talk about one that has killed approximately, and nobody knows for sure, but between 500 and 800 million people have died in the history of mankind. That's a good estimate. It could be even more than that. And that's smallpox. Smallpox was killing people left and right. And there were people that would use smallpox to kill other people. We had people here in the United States that would put it on blankets, give it to the natives so they would die, so they could take their land because they knew they wouldn't win if they fought them, And in 1796, a guy named Edward Jenner, he came up with a vaccine, and it was for smallpox. And it's done a pretty good job because out of all the diseases that we've known about throughout history, smallpox has been eradicated. That's the only one, 100,000% gone. Gone. Bless you for it, Mr. Jenner. Thank you for that, man. They have been working ways since, and its history has shown this, especially Jewish history, because they documented everything back in the day. In 200 BCE, they had pictures and writings of them trying to work on fixing diseases. And their attitude was maybe if we give him this, it will work. Maybe if we set him over here next to this guy who has it, he'll catch it and he'll be okay. We've been trying for years. So in 1796, when somebody comes up with something, good for him. So if they came up to me today and said, hey, I need you to get this smallpox vaccine, which has killed millions and millions of people, I'm going to say, yeah, Give it to me, man, because I don't want to be a statistic. And they're like, well, you might get a little sick from it, but if you get smallpox, you'll live. I can dig it, man. Give me the vaccine. Move a little further down the line. 1885, Louis Pasteur. You all know who he is, right? The guy that worked on milk. Did a lot of good things. Pasteur was a smart guy. He came up with the rabies vaccine. And he came up with not a cure, but a vaccine which will help you a lot if you get anthrax. Now, anthrax is a heavy-duty, deadly thing, man. And if there's a shot for it, and I've got it, and I mean, if I've got it, give me all you got. I'm going to give it a shot. And if they say, well, might make your sideburns fall out, or it might make your left finger fall out, dude, I can live with it. I'd rather live with no finger than be dead. And that's the problem with all these people out there. They believe in the wrong things of history. They don't research history. And you know how many people are listening right now that don't know anybody about these names I've mentioned? They don't know, man. Let's keep going. In 1918 and 1919, in America, the Spanish flu was so bad, 1 in 67 people died. Wrap your head around that. Okay, if you go to school and there's 30 kids in your class, you might as well say 2.5 classes of kids, somebody died. That's horrible to think about. You go to work, if you work in a big shop in the automotive industry, there's thousands of people in there. That means thousands of people died, man. All because of the Spanish flu. So what did they do? They started working on the flu vaccine. They started working back then. And it wasn't about making a ton of money off it, people. And it wasn't about controlling people and their chromosomes. And let's do this and let's do this. And let's do population control. Well, if they're doing population control, it's not working. Because since I was born, the population of the world has more than doubled. So they're not doing something right. Either that or everyone's denying the vaccines. But then in 1952, Jonas Salk, he came out with a vaccine. Now, I don't know if you know this much about polio, but it was horrible. It was horrible. And it made it to where people couldn't walk. It was just awful. I know people, older people that are still around, that had polio. This older lady, when the COVID shot came out, and everybody was saying, it's going to kill you, COVID-19, you'll get the jab, you'll die. And they'd say, this guy died. I'm like, that guy was 87. You know, it was COVID complications. He was 87. He was 78. He had a good long life. He didn't die from the vaccine. He died probably of old age. He probably died because he got COVID before he got the vaccine. That was killing people. And I got tired of these people saying, it's just a flu. It's just a cold. Yeah, I'm laying up in the hospital with people in nuclear suits hooked up to machines that they're pumping fluids in my body and giving me blood and got me on oxygen to keep me alive. But it's just a flu, right, people? It's just a cold. Maybe to you. Maybe it is to you, but to some people suffer more than others do, man. Stop and think about that. So back then, with Jonas Salk, 1 in 54 people would get polio. I remember that little old lady, too, when she told me about she had polio, and she moved, but she was a sweetheart, and she told me, she's like, I don't know how anybody can turn down that vaccine. So you come up to me with a vaccine and said it could cure polio or help me, I would have got it. Because she didn't want anybody to die. I actually know people that died from COVID. They couldn't get the vaccine. I almost died. I ain't going to lie. I laid there holding my dog praying. My atheist daughter prayed for me. I said, who'd you pray for? She said, whoever would listen. I appreciate that. But with polio, 1 in 54 people would die. There were 1.3 million people. 1.3 million children, I should say, got vaccinated in the beginning. And you know what? They didn't get polio. They didn't get polio at all. Now, Jonas Salk was a good man. I like Jonas Salk. I have a lot of respect for him. He could have made billions and billions of dollars off the polio vaccine. A lot of these people that come up with the vaccines and maybe not cures for diseases, but helps out with diseases to make it to where they're not as bad, these guys could get rich. But you know what they do? They don't. They set it up like he did to where nobody could patent it. Nobody could take it. Nobody could ever make a dime off the polio vaccine. He could have made billions, millions of dollars. His family could have. You know why? Because he cared. All he cared about was helping people. That's what you're supposed to do in this world. You're supposed to help others if you can. You help yourself, and then you help others. And that's what he did. That's what a lot of these people did. The guy that came up with measles, mumps, rubella, the MMR, he couldn't get it out there. He couldn't get it out there. And so he's like, well, I don't know what to do, man. And he's like, I know this will work. And he was working on it. And he had tested it. And it was working really well. And this was in 1971. And he couldn't get it around. And these big corporations wanted to get it from him. They wanted to buy it from him. He didn't trust them. He didn't think they'd work with it right. He didn't think they'd give them to the people. He didn't think they'd help the kids out. None of that. He didn't trust them. He got a hold of this. It was a group of Jewish guys. They're kind of like bankers, investors, but they were not selfish. Because honestly, I'll tell you, most Jews believe in the laws of Tikkun Olam, healing the world. And he got a hold of these guys because he knew them and said, hey, man, can you help me out? I know you guys got the money to do it. And like, yeah, we'll do it. These guys didn't make the dime off there. Well, they probably covered their own expenses and their costs, but they didn't profit off it. They didn't make billions. They wanted it out there to help cure little kids, help cure adults. They didn't want people dying. And that's a God-blessed good thing. And we don't have enough of that in this country anymore. It was in 1967, the smallpox vaccine finally went worldwide. Smallpox is gone, man. Smallpox is gone. And I'll tell you something right now. Polio is almost gone. There's only 2 countries out there where there's any signs of polio, and that's over in the Middle East. Don't know why, but I think one is Afghanistan, one is Pakistan. Very few cases, but it's almost eradicated. Measles, mumps, rubella was almost so close to being eradicated because everybody had the vaccine. But now you got people that won't get the vaccine because it causes autism. It causes brain damage in my kid. No, sorry, sir, but the brain damage is in you and it's hereditary to your kid, okay? But MMR, man, we were so close. But now it's coming out strong. It's coming out strong in America. And then you have a lot of people coming from other countries where they don't have the vaccine. They don't have the access because it's about money now. These corporations try to buy everything up. And they either hold it back or they charge you a lot for it. And a lot of these other countries, people don't have health care. They don't have money. They don't have anything. That's why they come to America. Most of them. That's why they try to come here, get a job, and do right. Now, in 1965, there were 5 vaccines that people would get. Babies would get diphtheria, smallpox, polio, tetanus, and DTP. In 67, they added the MMR. Now, I said there was 17. They're going to knock it down to 11. But some of them protect more than one disease. Some of them you'll get, and it protects several different diseases, and it helps you from catching them, which is a great thing. And so here's the thing. So now here's the big thing. All right. So a lot of people didn't have access to these vaccines, and they're not mandatory. Every state has it to where you don't have to get them. You don't want them. That's your trip, man. A lot of religious exemptions. Okay, whatever. But here's the deal. Then you start sending your kids to school with other people's kids, and those kids get sick, whether they've got the vaccine or not. They can still get sick. They just won't get as sick. But then what if there's other kids that don't have the vaccine yet? What if they don't have this vaccine yet? Your kids around them, boom. You know how schools are, man. Man, once one kid gets sick, they all get sick. Now, I didn't get a lot of those vaccines. They weren't around when I was born, you know. But my mother made sure I got them because she grew up with nothing. And she didn't have access to that stuff. Now, I have access to all the books she gave me after she passed on from this world. Rest her memory, bless her soul. Anyway, I got books from the 1800s when the family first came here. I got all kinds of stuff way back. We're talking 1800s. One of the books has a history on her father's side of the family, and it lists all the kids and how they died. Some of them were dying at the age of 17 because of measles. One was 5 years old, died of the mumps. They didn't have that back then, people. You had young kids dying. You don't know what these kids could have grown up. One of them might have grown up and cured cancer. You don't know that. One of them, I mean, you don't know. But so it's no big deal. People don't care. Well, they didn't, have a choice. Well, no, they didn't have a choice, but now you do have a choice. So why are you making the wrong one? Vaccines there can save a life. Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you taking it? Well, because it causes autism. Everybody knows that. Now we're going to get into the autism aspect of things. No. Tylenol doesn't cause autism. When they said the Tylenol thing, you know what that was all about? It was funny because Tylenol stock dipped big time. I mean, seriously. And all these other companies, Sudafed, Bayer, those companies, Bayer aspirin, don't get me started on Bayer, freaking Nazis. Anyway, their stocks went to the roof. So did you ever stop and think that maybe this was just a way of making some money off the stock market? Because all these people are corrupt. A Kennedy was involved. Like, I trust any Kennedy. Give me a break. So the autism thing started years ago when Jenny McCarthy got her kid vaccinated. Now, you know who she is, right? She was a Playboy playmate. So you know she's got tons of brains and stuff. You know she's super smart and knows what she's talking about. Hey, you can see my eye roll probably. Anyway, she got her kid vaccinated, and then he was diagnosed with autism. Now, when kids get vaccinated, that is about the same time, and it's not because of the vaccine, it's about the same time that they diagnose them with autism. Because they can't tell when they're first born most times, most cases, not always. Some, yes, sadly. I think autism is horrible. I feel so bad for those kids because some of them won't have what we'll call a normal life. It's probably not the correct word for it, but it's sad. I feel bad for them. They'll never get to drive a car. Some of them will never get to, get married or even kiss a girl. And some are just, it's sad, man. But anyway, so Jenny McCarthy went public and started ranting and raving about it, saying it was all because of the vaccines, started going against them. Her boyfriend at the time, Jim Carrey, same thing. He was just dating her. So, of course, he's going to say whatever she says so he could get some. And, he was, all right, these people are not informed people. Yeah, you might have some money, but you made that money playing make-believe and pretending. So I don't have a lot of respect for a lot of these people. Robert De Niro was another guy. Never liked him. Something about him rubs me the wrong way, probably because he's a pervert and he's done some nasty things, but I've never liked him. But his kid was diagnosed. He said the same thing. So, of course, when a movie star or an actor or a Playboy playmate says it, you know it's true. And the scientist says, that's not true. That's not true at all. We figured out it was hereditary years ago. Oh, no. There's nobody in my family that has it. Well, you know what? My mother passed away from Alzheimer's. We've never ever had anybody with a memory problem in my family. And my family has lived a long time. I've seen great aunts, and we never had a problem. But we don't know that. Maybe her great-grandfather did. Maybe great-great-great-great-grandpa did. We don't know. It could have come from 5 generations ago. The sad part is that it's there, and I wish we could stop it and fix it. Now, when I grew up, I was growing up in the city, and my school was the biggest, my elementary school was the biggest in the city. So what they would do is they sent all the handicapped kids to my school. So I grew up around all these kids. So all the kids that were, and back then, and pardon the language, I don't use this word, but this is what they classified them all. They were all mentally retarded. And that's what we were told. Because we go out on the playground and be like, wow, what is wrong with her? We didn't know. But then we learned, and I was like, ew, we didn't know. A lot of the kids were mean to them. And there were so many different ways, They were physically, mentally challenged kids. That's what I say, special education. Special needs, that's another good way, because they needed that. And a lot of the kids were bullying them. And some of them were really, really bad. Some were very quiet. And they wouldn't say anything. So we'd be like, hey, you want to play football? You want to play foursquare? And they wouldn't because they were scared. And we didn't understand that back then. But this was, I was first, second grade then around all these guys. So they're same age as me. So I was with them for 4 or 5 years and stuff. So you got used to them and you got to know them. And eventually some of them would come around. And we would realize, okay, there's something wrong with him. He's a little different. He has special needs. Let's nurture that. Let's help them. We never sat there and tried to, most of us, classify them as bad people or different people or lock them away or anything like that. We tried to help them. And to this day, I still believe in that. I believe if there's a child out there that needs help, I'm going to help them. I'm going to make them feel loved. I'm going to make them feel special. I'm going to make him or her feel good because they are good. They're great people and there's nothing wrong with them. They're just a little different. And the scale of autism has been broadened so much. Who's to say I'm not on the scale? I probably got some stuff that they'd say, oh, that's autism, that's OCD. Okay, whatever, man. Everybody's different. Some people are worse. There were some kids we didn't know. We didn't know what their problem was. But then you got to know them, you're like, oh, okay, I see. All right, okay. That's cool, man. And most of us, there were bullies. There's always has been, always will be. Most of us accepted these kids. Most of us like, okay, he's a little different. Hey, you want to play basketball? Okay, I understand. You want to play football? We'd have to teach them this. Because a lot of them didn't know. A lot of them, their parents gave up on them. There were a lot of them that the parents bailed because they didn't want to deal with the kids. I've seen that a lot. I've seen a lot of people bail on the kids because they're mentally, physically, or both challenged. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. To everybody listening that has a child that is physically, mentally, any special needs, you have autism, I love you all, and I got your back. And I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you taking care of your children and loving them because that's what we're supposed to do in this world. We're supposed to help one another. The vaccines don't cause autism, people. And RFK Jr., man, don't even get me started. It's a Kennedy. I don't trust them clowns. And here's the deal. You care about all these vaccines? Well, what about the foods that we eat, boy? What about the toxic chemicals in the freaking food? That's what's killing everybody. That's what's causing brain damage. That's what's making people stupid. And I mean that by adults, man. Something wrong with y'all. Because I'm going to rant and vent about that one of these days, man. Trust me. Because I get sick of going to the store and reading stuff I can't even pronounce. I'm like, I'm putting this in my body? Man, what's wrong with y'all? But you're going to worry about vaccines that can save a freaking life? What's wrong with y'all, man? Anyway, I appreciate you listening. Anybody out there with special needs, autism, I love you guys, man. I love your kids. Even if I don't know them, I got your back, man. That's what we're supposed to do in this world. We're supposed to look out for one another, love one another, supposed to treat everybody the way we want to be treated. And if you see a problem, you fix it. You don't complain, you work on it. You see a child that needs some help, you help them. You see a person needs help, you help them. You know? People got to quit believing all the lies out there. Social media is not gospel. You want to know what gospel kind of is? Me, because I'm the real deal and I tell it like it is. Peace.